And we are back with the latest installment of the What's Next series. I got my good friend Jacob Nelson in the building. When I came up with the idea for this series, I was going through all the teams. I'm like, I can get this guy for this team, this guy for this team. And I got to the Timberwolves and I'm like, bro, Jacob does not make videos anymore. And then all of a sudden, like during the summertime, I got a notification that you dropped the video. I'm like, oh, he's back. So, bro, I'm glad that you're back making content, man, because this is a conversation I've been looking forward to.
Oh yeah, man. It was kind of a dry spell there for a little bit. We did that fantasy draft, and I just stopped posting after that. And I was so burnt out on YouTube. Now I'm back, and I'm feeling better than ever about this whole YouTube thing.
That's great, bro. I'm glad you're back. I understand the burnout thing. Like I went like a month without uploading during the NBA playoffs, which was like kind of crazy, but
I did the
it
same
happens.
thing, bro. I didn't post at all through the playoffs.
It happens, bro. It's just like sometimes like you said, it's just a burnout. Like you kind of hit a wall and it's tough and you got school and stuff or maybe work. You just got a lot going on. It's like a break is needed, but then that comeback, you were saying before we hit record, like it's fun again. Like it feels good to record.
Yeah. Oh.
Got your pops in the back.
All right, he came through. He's clutch. He came through. All right.
We might keep that in the video, but
Keep that in. Hey, if you're keeping that in, you got that monster going.
It's not a sponsor, but
Not a sponsor.
Before we get into the Minnesota Timberwolves talk, which we're gonna have a lot to talk about for sure because it was a busy offseason and just a busy season in general. But first, tell the people where they can find your videos and what your content is all about.
Okay, so I make YouTube videos, as we said, Jelson, Jelson. You can find me at youtube.com/JelsonNBA. You can find me on Twitter, Jelson4321. Probably shouldn't go there. It's a little toxic there. But those are the places you can find me most often. You can look at my YouTube channel. I got a few other spots there, but I don't post as much on those different social medias. But those two places where you can find me the most.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've noticed Timberwolves Twitter is a little toxic. I've really noticed that over the last year or two of following Timberwolves fans. Like every time I see them playing, it's a lot of Carlton Town slander. It's a lot of Nas Reed slander. Sometimes Jalen Noel. It's all over the place. But
everyone,
I see it as a passionate fan base, which is why I was so glad to see you guys back in the playoffs this past season. And just talk about that experience, man. What was it like getting back into the postseason? Because it's only been, twice in the last 18 or so years that you guys have made the playoffs.
All right. So if you don't know, if people watching probably don't know, but within the NBA, the smaller NBA community that we have going here, I'm known as the casual. Partially because I didn't start watching the NBA seriously until about 2018. But part of my whole content thing was just doing young players because that's newer. But for the Timberwolves, it's all new players. Everyone's new, everyone's young, everyone's upcoming. One of those things that's super promising. It makes me as a Timberwolves fan super excited to watch this team going forward. And especially last year, watching the Jimmy Butler era was, of course, you make the playoffs and it's bittersweet, right? Jimmy Butler's has a spot in my heart that I'd rather not go into, but he let us to playoffs, so I got to give him credit for that. And then going into this year, where you're like, the media is like, oh, they're not even a play-in team, they're not that good, and it's like, as a fan, most of the time you know that you're going to be a playoff team because you watch them and you know more about them than the media does and all that. And I knew that we had hopes of making the playoffs. I knew we were probably going to be a play-in team, and to be a 7 seed was just about more than anything I could ask for. Especially the Leafs with like Anthony Edwards. You look at the points and all that, and it's like, well, he didn't really jump, but you watch him like on film. You see the hype on Twitter, you see the hype on different social medias, and you realize that Anthony Edwards is that dude, and he's going to take us to that promised land. And this year's playoff run just showed me that he is that guy.
Definitely. I have some crazy narratives to push by Anthony Edwards. I might get into them in this video, but I'm going to give myself a pat on the back as well, because I don't know if it was on my channel or if I was on a podcast, but I said the Timberwolves would be a playing team. I didn't say they were going to be the 7th seed or the 10th seed, but I said they would be a playing team. And I think I even had them higher than I had the Memphis Grizzlies. Like I think that's what I had. Like I was that confident in Minnesota, because I just like the moves that they made last offseason. Like the Patrick Beverley move, I knew that was going to be a culture shifting move. And it turned out to be that, like, even though he's now gone, which we're going to get into later, it changed the culture a little bit. We see D'Angelo Russell playing better defense, Anthony Edwards being a little more locked in. Of course, the emergence of like Jared Vanderbilt was big. Cat even being a little more rah-rah. It was a different energy in Minnesota, which we haven't seen in so long. What would you say was the most impressive part of this team this season?
All right, I want to give myself a little pat on the back first. I made a video saying top trade targets for the Timberwolves, and I had Patrick Beverley as number one.
Smart.
I thought that was a long shot. I thought it would just it happened. But I think to answer that question, it almost was Patrick Beverley. He showed us that maybe we had the young talent, but we didn't have the rah, as you were saying. We didn't have the, I'm gonna go at your face, and I'm not scared. You gonna come at me? I'm just gonna go at you harder. So Anthony Edwards obviously had that coming into the draft, coming into the league. He was a guy that was going to get in your face, but it just felt like this team was different. And you see it on like a lot of different things where Cat's being slandered because, he's not being himself. I think he's being himself. I just think he was afraid to be himself. And that's what I was excited about. That's the most exciting thing for me. If everyone could be themselves and succeed, I'm excited to watch this Timberwolves team play.
Definitely. I mean, jumping ahead just a little bit, how does it feel now that Patrick Beverley had that impact in just one season, and now he's gone, Jared Vanderbilt is gone, and those were two of the most important defensive pieces. Are there any like questions about losing those guys that might come back to haunt this team?
I think nothing more than what has been already said. Besides the fact that like Patrick Beverley was a great leader, a great guy all around, one of the best, or one of my favorite players, even before he joined the Timberwolves, one of my favorite players. To watch him come in and change the culture was something that you could say Jimmy Butler did, but I don't think he quite did. Is something about the maturity of coming at it that was a little different than a lot of the different guys we've had. Not even just Jimmy Butler. You could say Taj Gibson, all these veteran guys. There's something about Patrick Beverley that really made it seem like he cared. Like he didn't want just to win. He wanted these players to get better. Overall, I felt like this team is just more mature because of Patrick Beverley. So losing him is going to, in a way, hurt us. But I think that being able to have that knowledge that he gave you and be able to grow on your own is going to be very important for this team. Jared Vanderbilt, he's a great player, borderline all defensive player, but Rudy Gobert is just better. And when you put in the grand scheme of things and people are like, Timberwolves ruined the market or whatever, which, hey, I'm fine with. We got our guy. But I think getting Rudy Gobert is going to be a big help. He's going to be basically a Jared Vanderbilt replacement, getting some guys in free agency. So I don't think Jared Vanderbilt's going to hurt too much, even though one of my favorite guys, great player. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump into that trade. We're going to dive deeper into that trade because that was a crazy day on NBA Twitter. I don't even think I've talked about it on this channel yet. So this is really like the first interaction. So we're going to get into that. But you guys did make the playoffs. I mean, the playing game was against the Clippers was amazing. Anthony Edwards was big. D'Angelo Russell down the stretch was big. That was a crazy game. You guys celebrated. You could just tell the passion in the city of Minneapolis because it seemed like you guys already won a playoff series or two, like the way you guys were celebrating. And going into that first round series, I thought it was a legitimate chance that y'all could have won that series going into it, and you guys had a lot of opportunities. Was it disappointing to lose that series in the way that y'all did?
To talk on the play-in, I was at that game.
You were. I forgot about that. You were at that game.
it was like tears of joy when that happened. But then when the playoffs happened and you said that, a lot of people, or not even a lot of people, some people had us as the favorites. Some people didn't. Some people thought we were going to get swept. And that's where I'm happy at. I'm happy at taking the series to 6, to be able to compete at the highest level, for the playoffs at least, is the highest level we performed at in a long time. To perform at that level, and what you could say is disappointing is, you should have won that series because you had the lead in literally every game, and it wasn't like a small lead. We're talking 20+ point leads in every single game, I'm pretty sure. It's a little disappointing in that way, but Memphis is the 2 seed, we were the 7. To take it to 6, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Definitely not. But like I was on record like months before when I saw that this was a potential matchup, and I'm like, Minnesota's almost just as good as Memphis. Like, even though Memphis was a 55 win team, 2 seed, like you mentioned, I don't think y'all were that far off. I still don't think, like, even after the moves y'all make, like, I think y'all are still on that same tier as them, like, talent wise. I just think, like you said, it might have just been more so inexperience, like not knowing how to close out being up 20, which is kind of in a playoff situation. It's not as easy as people may think, because basketball is a game of runs, and you can easily give up a 20-0 run, like just like that, just like how y'all pretty much did. Like, they went on like a 24-0 run or something crazy like that. And I think it's all about growth, and I think getting that experience under your guys' belt might be beneficial moving forward. Like, you might have needed to get smacked in the mouth a little bit, you know, because a lot of young teams get that early success. Like, imagine if y'all did win a playoff series or potentially two. That might not be good. Y'all might have not made the big moves in the offseason to get better. So I like that answer. It was good to be there. Obviously, maybe disappointing that you guys didn't win that series, but all in all, I think it worked out in the end.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a couple things though. Like, we beat them in the season by, like, at the time was the biggest beat down in on the year. It was like we beat them by like 47 or something. And I was at that game also, and it's like, man, we really get to face this team that we just beat by like 47 in the regular season. We get to play them in a series. It's about to be a beatdown. And then there's the side of me, like, I'm a Minnesota sports fan. We're about to lose in 4. But I think there was a lot to it that I was super happy about. I got to, like, obviously before going to college, I got to experience going to a play-in game, experience going to a playoff game, which was my goal. I think before moving off somewhere doesn't have a team right next to it, I wanted to be able to experience what the most I could, and they provided for me. I had a lot of fun watching the team. I had a lot of fun going to games. There's not much I can ask more from this team. I mean, next year there's more I could ask, but next year we have experience. Next year we have more veteran guys. Next year we're better in general.
Definitely. Before we transition into the big off season from the Timberwolves, let's talk about Anthony Edwards, because I think his progression during the season was definitely seen, and it reached its climax in the playoffs where he was probably the best player in that series. He was incredible. Like I said, I got some nasty agendas that I'm going to push by Anthony Edwards. I think it was Kenny's Enjoy Basketball page tweeted out the other day a dark horse for MVP, and I was going to comment Anthony Edwards. I think he can be that special. I really do. What are your feelings on Anthony Edwards, and how good can he actually be?
Okay. I'm going to go way out, because I saw a tweet similar, but in more of a sense of, is Anthony Edwards a generational talent? And that's a great question, because I made a video about Paulo Banchero, and somebody commented, generational talent gets thrown around a lot. That term gets thrown around. You could be a average or borderline all-star player and you're a generational talent. So it was a great question that I had to really think in my mind. Is he a generational talent? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, you look at the tools he has and what he's shown so far. It's a big thing to say, but I think he could be a better version of Dwayne Wade.
I think the exact same. I'm glad you said that. I think the exact same thing. And D Wade's one of my favorite players ever. I have a D Wade jersey in my closet, but he's a bigger, maybe faster, more athletic, better jump shooter. Like, he has the potential to be better than Dwayne Wade even was. And I think defensively he has that upside, which if he really locks in, he can be an elite defender. So I'm glad you said that. Like, that's a great comparison. I don't think it's even too far-fetched to say.
And, well, part of it was, is he a generational talent? And then my first thought in my head is exactly that. Is better Dwayne Wade? Dwayne Wade himself is a generational talent. If you're better than Dwayne Wade, you better be a generational talent. Like, if you're even getting comparisons, like, period, you better be a generational talent. And I think, as you said, not too far-fetched to say that he could be a better Dwayne Wade. It's not too far-fetched to say he could be basically as good as Dwayne Wade. And I think some people saying that he's becoming overrated is people underrating him.
I totally agree. Like, you could probably attest to this too. It was like probably after their rookie years, I think most people, maybe outside of like Timberwolves fans, were saying LaMelo's better. I think that was a pretty common thing. And now I'm like, I don't really think it's that close. I think Anthony Edwards is a lot better than LaMelo Ball. Like, I don't think it's close. Like, what he showed me in the playoffs in his first time as a 20-year-old guy shows that he has that killer. He has that big game mentality. And I think, like, moving forward, they made that trade, the Rudy Gobert trade, because they're banking on Anthony Edwards becoming one of the top 5 players in basketball.
Well, to go off the LaMelo point, it's like, I don't want anyone to get it like messed up. I enjoy LaMelo's game. He's actually one of my favorite players to watch. It's just like, I'm not gonna say like, obviously Anthony Edwards isn't LeBron, but like, we look at the 2003 draft class and it's like, you have LeBron and you have Carmelo Anthony, and it's like, you can't go wrong with either, but one is significantly better than the other. I'm kind of on the train of Anthony Edwards is obviously not LeBron, but he's in that LeBron situation where he's probably going to be significantly better, but you can't go wrong with either.
Yeah, which is crazy because when he got drafted, they were like, is this the right pick? Like, people were questioning him. I'm like, at the time, I thought, like, yeah, they took the right guy, but I don't even know if I envisioned him being this good, this fast.
Yeah.
Like, he's only going into year 3, and I don't give out, like, potential MVP, like, labels on guys, but I think he can be that. You know, I think he can make a Ja Morant type jump this year, but maybe even better. Like, I think that's a possibility. Like, we'll move on to the offseason now because you guys made a lot of moves. You guys made the Rudy Gobert trade to become a top team in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
What was like your initial? You kind of talked about it a little earlier, but when you saw the Woj or Shams notification come through to your phone, what was like your initial reaction?
All right, so I know where I was, bro. I was sitting in my car, or sitting in my parents' car, and we were on our way to North Dakota, bro. And I was sitting there, and I'm just like scrolling, or actually, sorry, I was playing on my Switch. I was playing on my Switch in the car, and then my friend is spam calling me, and I answer. I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Rudy Gobert." I'm like, "No shot." So I check Twitter, and I look, and I see the package, and I immediately am disappointed. But, as my friend would attest to, it was a more so disappointed in. Man, we gave up a lot of these leader guys that you could say, Patrick Beverley, Jared Vanderbilt, whatever. But it's like, in the grand scheme, it took me maybe a day or two, and then I'm like, I mean, come on. Give a couple first-round picks, late first-round picks. Historically, you look at the Timberwolves draft picks, we're terrible at drafting in the first round. And I don't trust this franchise with any first-round picks ever, unless it's the number 1 overall pick. And I think personally, getting rid of those draft picks sucks if we suck. Like that's kind of how it is. But there's no way you're even a lottery team with those picks, or rather with the trade and with your roster. And then you look at some of the guys you gave up, and it's like, it's tough, fan favorites, but expiring contracts. Like, in all reality, you put some things aside, you put some personal bias aside, and you're like, they're expiring. Nothing more. Jared Vanderbilt, he's different. He's on one of the best contracts in the league. But Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, like, those are the 2 main pieces besides Jared Vanderbilt in the draft picks. They're expiring. It's something that we're probably not going to re-sign either of them. Maybe Patrick Beverley, maybe Malik Beasley. He was probably going to ask for too much compared to what he had been. Like, obviously, a couple years ago, he was a 20-point per game scorer, but since then, he has been either the best shooter I've ever seen, better than Steph Curry, or literally a worse shooter than Shaquille O'Neal. So I don't know what to say about it. There's a lot to go into it. You could look at different trade value, depends on what you value more. Knowing what we got in Tim Connolly he's a guy that got Jokic in the second round. We know a guy that is not afraid to give up capital to get better pieces, and a guy that is going to go all in to win. He wants to win, and that's something we needed. And getting a guy like Rudy Gobert, as he said, was with whatever money you have, there's a -10 chance you get a player of Rudy Gobert's caliber in free agency. And then you say, well, the draft picks or whatever, and it's like, all 4 of those draft picks, let's say you take all 4 of those players combined, are they really going to be as good as Rudy Gobert? I doubt it. and being able to go into a position to be labeled as possibly contenders brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah, like my reaction was kind of the same. It was like, damn, that's a lot. That's a lot to give up. And then I thought about it more, and you kind of alluded to it. Like, they're going to be late first round picks. And what I like to say is, if you're a team that's trying to boost yourself into contention, forget the draft picks. Forget the draft picks. Like, if you get a chance to get a generational rim protector, generational defender like Rudy Gobert is, he gets a lot of hate. I'm even on record of throwing some shade, but it was warranted. But I think he's still one of the better rim protectors that we've ever seen. You got to make that trade. And even though it might have been a little bit of an overpay, you gave up some rotational pieces, a lot of draft capital. I think when you're in a situation like you're Minnesota, you're not, like you said, you're not going to get a guy like this in free agency. You got to make the move. And I'm actually a big fan of it because it's different. I'm excited to see how this is going to work on the floor. It's a weird dynamic. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns kind of already played basically the four position because Vando would guard a lot of fives, unless it was maybe like Jokic or Embiid. But so it might not be that much of a shift. And like we said, Anthony Edwards is going to be probably the key piece. Jaden McDaniels, his growth is going to be very key. And you guys, I think you supplemented it in the offseason and in the draft too. Like, you still got a couple of rookies that you're going to bring onto the roster. Like, I think the rotation will still be fine. I think even though you gave up some depth, you got guys coming in that are going to be ready to replenish those guys that you did lose. So, all in all, I like the trade. I like the offseason in general. Like, getting Kyle Anderson, I think, was a very underrated move. And even like freeing up those Malik Beasley minutes. I love Jalen Noel. I think Jalen Noel is really good. Like, I think very slept on, man. Like, he can come off the bench and I think be one of the better bench scorers in the league this season with more opportunity. So I'm a big fan of the offseason. But do you think it boosts y'all into being like actual contenders?
I think so. It's a very tough West. And bringing up guys like Jalen Noel is very important. Because my pro comparison to him, as of right now, even though they're both pros, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my comparison to him, if he reaches his potential, I think he has, is I think he can become a Tyler Hero type of player. That's obviously his ceiling, in my opinion. And I said in a previous video, it's like, when I say someone's ceiling is that doesn't mean there's a high chance he reaches it. And so I think he can become a Tyler Hero player, or he can become slightly less. Maybe he can become a better Malik Beasley. And that is perfectly fine for me. And then also thinking about depth is like, in that trade, they gave up a lot of their depth. It's such a take that is literally spread on social media far and wide that our depth is one of the worst in the league. And I said, no, it's not. We had one of the best benches in the league last year statistically, and we basically got rid of one bench player.
Pretty much.
Sure. It's like Malik Beasley. And then obviously you could say whoever coming off the bench, certain games, whatever. Malik is the only valuable bench piece we lost in theory. Who knows what Leandro Balmero is going to be? Who knows what Walker Kessler is going to be? What I will say is that we got Kyle Anderson, a guy that on my Twitter, I have made renown that I make fun of him. But nonetheless, he's valuable. And bringing in a guy like Kyle Anderson, he's going to be able to defend and make a few shots here and there is going to be very important for our team. Bryn Forbes, Austin Rivers, which I need to create a petition to change the Mississippi River to Austin River. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. And then like getting some of these other guys, like I think the best way I can put it is when somebody says your depth is bad, I say Eric Paschal is on a 2-way contract. That's all I can say, because most people that know anything about basketball know that Eric is a very at least solid player when he's used right, and to get him on a 2-way contract is unbelievable. So yeah. I think with the depth, I think with you look at our starters, we're one of the best starting rotations in the league. I say top 3. I don't see us not being a contender.
I don't even think you mentioned Jordan Mclaughlin is still on the team, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, I have my personal bias against him. But
you don't mess with Jordan?
No, I think he's cool. But
I like his game. He's decent. I like his
It's a
game.
little different. It's a little different. He's like a mini Chris Paul almost.
Yeah, like
And Chris
which
Paul is
is
small, so
which is
mini.
funny.
But no, in a way, I think my vendetta against him came across maybe in his second year where he wasn't producing as much. But this year he's came up clutch. The playoffs, dude, D'Lo got benched for Jordan Mclaughlin, and I didn't want to. I never thought I would want to see this in my life, but thank God Jordan Mclaughlin is on this franchise because that man, for my money, is one of the most, along with Jalen Noel, one of the most underrated players in the league.
I like that dude coming off the bench. And even like a guy like Nas Reed won't be asked to play like big minutes, which I think is perfect for him. Because when he gets to playing big minutes, even though in the playing game, he was like one of the reasons why y'all won. But when he gets to playing like 20, 22, 25 minutes, that's a lot. But if he's playing like 15 minutes or less, he can be real decent, I think, in those 15 minutes.
All right. I don't know. Depends on the Twitter, rather, the fans that you ask. My vendetta that I had with Jordan McLaughlin last year, I have with Nas Reed right now.
I've seen a lot of Nas Reed slander over the last year on Timberwolves Twitter. I've seen so much.
All right. Okay. So in theory, I'm actually cool with Nas because he was an undrafted player and he has exceeded my expectations. And Nas has been fine unless he's in the playoffs or facing anyone good. Which is fine, I guess, because not everyone on everyone's roster is good. I'm fine with Nas. I don't give him more than 10 minutes. That's just how it is, especially with the centers you got on this team right now.
That's fair. Speaking of the centers, I gotta ask you as a Timberwolves fan, are you worried at all about Rudy Gobert in the playoffs?
Not one bit. My friends asked me this, and I'm like, dude, look at the highlights and all that, and I'm gonna go on my Twitter, scroll back a couple years, maybe a couple months. I'm a notorious Rudy Gobert hater, and I didn't realize, obviously, I have no reason to really look up his highlights when he's not on my team, unless I was making a video on him. I didn't realize how terrible the Jazz perimeter defenders was. Like, it's so bad, and also Rudy Gobert on the perimeter is a better defender than people give him credit for, and it's also because when he's in position, he makes great plays. It tends to happen when you're sitting in the block, you're usually not in the position to make a play on the perimeter. So having quick feet and also extremely long arms, he can make up for losing a guy on the perimeter that's driving. He can obviously one of the best rim protectors in the league. Having perimeter defenders that allows him to just sit in the paint and not really worry too much makes me excited to see what Rudy can do. And that's where his playoff slump, if you want to say that, it has come through when he's not performing well, because they're just going to attack him, because the perimeter defense on the Jazz was upright terrible.
Yeah, everything was funneled towards him, and then what teams would do is just, we're going to go small or smaller, we're going to space out and force him to be on the perimeter. So that's going to open up driving lanes, and that's how Terrence Mann has a 40-point game, or that's how James Harden and Steph Curry are able to cook him in the playoffs. But those are the elite of the elites. I'm interested to see it. I think a lot of it, we mentioned Anthony Edwards, he has to be really good defensively. And Jaden McDaniels, that's another dude I'm very high on. I just had a podcast episode where he was one of the first players that I mentioned as a breakout guy this year. Who in your mind, though, is going to be a breakout young player for the Timberwolves? Is it going to be McDaniels or maybe somebody off the bench like a Jalen Noel?
Well, I suppose it depends on what you mean by breakout, because I could say Anthony Edwards, but he's already a star, right? I could say that he's probably going to win most improved player like John Morant did, and he's technically breaking out, because if he goes from 20 points per game to 28 points per game, I'm not complaining.
Let me rephrase then. Not breakout, but like has to step up.
To step up?
Yes.
I have a different answer, but I'll go with the simple answer, and that's Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels is a guy that's gotten a lot of hype in the league as of recent, and for right reasons. He's one of the best young players in the league when it comes to potential. You look at his stats and you're like, he's nothing special, but you have to watch him. Watch his highlight, watch his film. He's one of the best defenders in the league, period. Plain blank, period. One of the best defenders in the league. And also his three-point shot and creation has become a lot better. And if you watch some of his pro-am stuff, this man's handle is starting to look like Kyrie. Like, oh no. But, and then another one I could say is Carlton Towns needs to step up. It's part of it is and that's not regular season, because we all know he's a regular season god. He's literally a cheat code. Playoffs, man, he needs to step up. Plain period.
Yeah, it hasn't been pretty for him in his 2 playoff appearances, but I'm back to Jaden McDaniels because great answer. That's the guy I was hoping you said. I'm a big fan. I think they made that trade and they're like, we believe in him. He's only 21 years old, maybe
something like that, 21.
Maybe just turned 22, like still super young, a lot of talent in there. And I just think if he can just become like a very knockdown 3-point shooter, which he showed in stretches he can be, and become that perimeter lockdown guy like all season long, this team's going to be deadly, like very deadly. It's going to be tough to guard this team offensively. And then defensively, having Rudy, potentially Anthony Edwards. I think D'Lo was a cool defender last year. Like he was not bad. I know Timberwolves fans probably have differing opinions on him right now, but
let me say, I hate bringing up stats because I always say stats don't speak facts. But I will tell you right now, statistically, he was one of the best defending point guards in the league. And it was because of his talking. He's not athletic at all, but he's a very good communicator. He's not a great one-on-one defender, but he's learned, and that's something that Patrick Beverley taught him. And I actually super underrated. Even though D'Lo sucked in the playoffs, I have to give him credit where credit is due.
Definitely, which is like, that's what I noticed. Like I said, last regular season, in my opinion, was his most complete season because he improved defensively. He seemed better just being a floor general and not looking for a shot as much. And I like that. I think he has to be there for this team because it's turning into, this is going to be Anthony Edwards' team with Cat being the number 2. D'Lo has to be able to fall back into that, really like a supreme number 3 guy. Like just pick your spots, which he can do at times. So hopefully he can bounce back because I think everybody has the playoffs in their mind when they think of him. But I think it was a bad series. A lot of guys had bad series for the Timberwolves. Like that was the kind of series that it was. So I'm excited to see him bounce back. But this is going to be a team I'm going to watch a lot this season. I might not miss many Timberwolves games. I already watched you guys a lot last year, but this year with the Rudy trade, everything that's going on, the expectations of making a big jump, I might watch like 60 to 70 games with Timberwolves basketball.
Dude, let me tell you, I was at work and I had my phone out watching the Timberwolves games, bro. I didn't care, bro. I watched every single game last year, and I'm probably gonna do it again this year as long as school isn't put in the way too much. Man, I'm really excited to see what this Timberwolves team can do. And one last thing I gotta say though is the biggest question for me in the upcoming 2-3 years is D'Lo gonna take a contract extension that is worth my time? Is he gonna want a max? I want to get him an extension done before this year because if he comes out guns blazing, wants a max, I can't give it to him. Money's too tight. We're in Minnesota. We can't go into luxury tax like that. So I think for me, D'Angelo Russell needs to take a Jalen Brunson type of contract for me to want him to stay on this team.
I think that would be fair. And plus, you got to pay Anthony Edwards at some point. We'll have to pay Jaden McDaniels. Like, there's a lot of guys that's going to need money.
Mm-hmm.
If he values winning, which he already got his bag, and it will be a pay cut, but it won't be nothing crazy because they know how good he actually is. So hopefully, I would like to see that because I want to see this core for the next 3, 4, 5 years, like however long their window is. I want to see this happening. And let's jump into this is the last question I have. What are your realistic expectations for the Timberwolves in this upcoming season? And give me like everything, like wins, playoff finish. What are your expectations?
At least 55 wins, which is a very lofty goal for a Minnesota team.
That's top two seed right there.
Which is weird. Ever saying that as a Timberwolves fan. I think at least 55 wins. I could see 58. I could see 53. It's really in that range. At least second round of the playoffs. Don't do that. It's a bust. And I just, there's a couple guys, as we said, that I just need to see to step up. Jaden McDaniels is going to. I'm not worried about that. Anthony Edwards. I need to see a leap. And obviously he's been fantastic, but it's just like, I need to see a little bit of a leap at least. And then Carlton Towns needs to be better when it's important. When the time comes, he needs to be better. There's just a couple of things like that I'm expecting to see, and I'm expected to be excited to watch. As I said, man, if we could beat the franchise wins record, I'm not complaining, bro. I think the franchise win record is like 60 wins. Hey,
That's
by all
lofty.
means, by
That's
all
lofty.
means, come
What I like,
through.
what I like about my guests, it has gradually got more and more like lofty expectations, and I like the hot takes, bro. It makes for good content, good conversations. Jacob, bro, this has been a good conversation about the Timberwolves, man. We got to collab again. Your channel, my channel, doesn't matter. We got to.
You know it, bro. I'm telling you, my next video or one of these upcoming videos, I'll get you on that for my channel, bro. We got to do that.
Hey, say less. It can be a Celtics video or not. I'll be there for sure.
Dude,
Just let me know.
Celtics coming up, bro.
Collab. Let's get it, my guy. Well, like we mentioned, Jelson on YouTube. His links will be in the description if you want to check out his Twitter, which he warned you guys about. Go ahead, check it out. But make sure you subscribe to his channel because he's back making some great content. Jacob, I appreciate you, and we'll catch y'all next time with another one.